Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in on a great viewer question that I think just weighs heavily on a lot of people's minds, and that is, why does a psychopath desire, aim, or have a sort of a deliberate, calculated plan to see others suffer? Why do they want or are rewarded by seeing others suffer? This is a great viewer question, very sensitive, and might be triggering, but it's my intent to allow this to be a enlightenment, something that you can realize and understand. And a lot of the topics that we discuss here might be new information. It might take a while to all gel and come together, and that is okay. Don't worry about it. But I think that is one of the sort of utmost questions that comes when you sort of begin to connect the dots and sort of figure out why this has emerged, why you are experiencing this, and to be able to sort of snap to and understand how important your inner life is towards understanding this evolution. So we're going to zoom in and focus in on that today. But before we get started, I just want to advise that I have opened up my schedule. So for those people who are looking for one-on-one coaching or consulting on your specifics, you want someone to talk to and help you to sort of map things out and get a strategy, or maybe you just need to vent and get some positive feedback, or whatever your need, I absolutely have opened up my schedule. And, just feel free to contact me at the email down below and we can begin. With that, why does a psychopath sort of have an aim to see others suffer? Why do they put others through what they do? A psychopath, to understand, is that they do not contain an emotional life within them the way that others do. In other words, they don't feel a kinship. They don't feel humanity. They do not feel a bond. They do not get attached to people. They do not really develop quote unquote relationships the way you might feel or experiencing them. So it's important to understand that even though they might have specific actions, activities that, appear just sort of human or normal, realize that there's a much different internal environment, internal climate within them that is, it is sort of barren, cold, and sort of deserted. They don't have a reservoir or a source of, sort of heart, what you might consider the ability to have a vision, to dream, to work, to be able to benefit and collaborate with others, to have a mutual understanding, a level playing field, a familiarity with terms. A psychopath is someone who is devoid of a conscience. So they don't then experience that within. So if you can understand the seriousness that what you see is not what you get with a psychopath, despite things that they might have done on the positive, realize that oftentimes it is a ploy and an act. It is literally a staged persona or an actor. They are disingenuine. What you see is not what you get. So they might present to be supportive. They might present to be a leader. They might present to be, interested in you. They might present to be, trying to pursue a romantic relationship. They might pursue to be a great work colleague. They might be a great community leader or doctor or lawyer. They might be, presenting to be a manager or a CFO or a C-level executive or a business owner. But yet there is a duplicity and deception to the utmost level that most people cannot comprehend. Because they lack a conscience, and there's brain structures within that are the causative factor. And it's important to you that you understand this sort of difference between internal climate and then the material world, or what is outside of you. And just to kind of begin to grasp this understanding, because it's going to have a real implication for your grasp of understanding, and then the grasp for your own healing. And so with these different structures within especially the brain that are responsible, so the structures within their brain, their amygdala, the prefrontal cortex, these are areas of the brain that are responsible for morality and judgment and sort of planning, mapping out how you want things to go with your life, just sort of having a vision, having a dream, having judgment, and then learning, so that all these sort of build up and bring you to where you want to go. Having a plan, a man with a plan, a gal with a plan. So even this is what they are lacking. There is a deficit within. And it's very difficult to grasp and believe and understand that, because it's contrary to the way that they present themselves in the world. In other words, they can oftentimes, be just, even though their structures, the amygdala, the prefrontal cortex, and their emotional content of language is void. They don't perceive things the same way. They don't perceive work the same way, family the same way, love relationships the same way, community the same way. Life, and a psychopath will tell you that their victims assume that most people see the world that you do. I've had a number of encounters, and a lot of people, also, well, that's a whole nother story. But, when you speak with a psychopath, such as I have, I'm I guess, relaying my personal experience, and they've basically exposed, certain things about mistakes that others, quote unquote, make. And that is that, they will tell you, a psychopath has advised that, their victims, the people who they, scapegoat, who they target, who they isolate, who they take on as supply, they make the mistake that others perceive the world and want the same things that you do. So there's this sort of, you have to understand that even though you might have great experiences or certain things together, that does not mean that they are dreaming and wanting, and despite their communication, or their actions, despite their actions, there is a disconnect. There is a cognitive dissonance. There is a discord between what they do and what they have and plan and are calculating for the future, to the degree that they can pass lie detector tests, that they can fool professionals, and they take this to the highest levels. The highest levels meaning situations of commitment. I can't believe someone would do that at the altar. I can't believe someone would marry under these circumstances. I can't believe that someone would lie to the degree and have double and triple lives the way that they do. I could not comprehend or physically do that. The degree to which they can pursue professions, be lawyers, things of this nature, that they are using the position for power. They will seek out positions of power to be able to exploit and take advantage of others. So the psychopath, why do they have this predilection, or why do they hurt others? Well, realize that that they don't have the same sort of startle response at that would alarm or cause others to want to help others or rescue. For example, if you were to be a bystander, and see somebody getting, hurt, you would begin to feel the pain. You might want to rush over, or you might call the police. You might, assist others or crowd control. This is your natural reaction to save humanity. It is immoral. It is your conscience working for you, and you have a self-image. You relate to that feeling. You have a self-image, back even deeper, that this is what you do. You call the police. You go over and you call 911. You see if everybody's okay. You screamed for help for them. This is natural. Built in instinct, and you have an image of yourself that, I am caring. This is the right thing to do. I would want someone to do this for me. So you have a lot of this identity. A psychopath does not experience this. Okay, there's all sorts of studies that have shown that they don't have the same reaction. They don't have that same call to duty. They don't have that same humanity. And it's not that they're too busy. Some people say, well, if I was busy, then maybe I wouldn't do this. We're talking on an overarching basis. We're talking on a consistent basis that they don't have that same experience. And it doesn't, we're talking on a full spectrum. But, largely that they, because of this, because they're devoid of this, they interpret their experience as well as that of others as different. And then they see that they are different, and that this gives them an ability to do things that most other people would not be comfortable with. In other words, cheating on a spouse, cheating on a test, cheating on a degree, falsifying your persona, leading people on, stringing people along, lying all day, every day, taking things from people, stealing, destroying other people's property, playing mind games with them, flipping their sense of reality, confusing their perception, making them feel loved or unloved for the purpose of toying with them. There's a parasitic nature that the psychopath has. In other words, so let's back it up a little bit. So once again, this understanding that the psychopath, because they have an awareness maybe in their teenage years that they don't connect to others and they don't have emotions, they don't want relationships the same way that others do. A psychopath will tell you that even though they seem to be wildly, passionately in love with you, a psychopath, so I've had these discussions, but they will have advised, they are asexual, meaning they are not interested in all that, even though it appears that they're, everything is just, over the top, stellar, off the charts, heat, beyond heat, just the love and romance of a lifetime, or they were such a great this or that, contrary to this, they will exercise these sexual acts in order to manipulate and con others, fool others, and get them completely hooked and addicted to this, what is known as hyper-arousal. Hyper-arousal means, they sort of really get beyond the boundary and start helping themselves to whatever is a part of you, even parts of you that you did not know existed. Helping themselves to your self-image, your image of yourself. This is so crucial. Your I am. They're going to go for the jugular, go for the button, go for what counts, go for the life force, go for the chi, go for the heart, go for the, gold for the golden nugget, go for the ring, go for, the juice, go for your I am. It does not get any more real than your self-image. So your self-image means your sense of I am, which has so many layers and so many internal motivations and so many values, and is so integral and foundational to your sense of identity. And you're being able to function in the world. You're being able to have relationships and feel secure. Your ability to go grocery shopping, your ability to pick up the mail, your ability to go to church or go to school and have a sense of I am and knowing yourself in the mirror, versus, not knowing your I am, not knowing who you are, not knowing who you are in relationships, not knowing who you are in the mirror, not having a sense of your own story, your own narrative, your own nostalgia, your own love life, your own passions, your own connection to yourself and your family. I mean, it gets as heavy as it gets with this. And so that's why, I'm creating this channel, is to help you to understand the degree and severity of why you might be experiencing this, or to help you sort out what you're going through in your relationship. And to understand that these individuals, although they might not be violent, they might have rage. So it expresses itself as a complete, taking over of another's life energy. And so just understanding that there is a deliberation and a calculation of their manipulation, the psychopathic gaze, that sort of dominance that a lot of people interpret as being seductive, being piercing, giving them, the tingles, giving them the chills, the look that could maim, the look that could, destroy. I don't want to use heavy words, but I think all of you can understand that there is a certain, the eyes are the window to the soul. So there is something that is like a cold mammalian, like a reptile. In other words, cold-blooded. I mean, if you were to pet a snake, maybe some people like that feeling, but for example, there are cold-blooded mammals. They don't. So as you might consider somebody warm-blooded, I mean, all people are considered warm-blooded, but these people are the antithesis of this. Even though contrary to their good works, and I'm not saying that they don't do good works, and I'm not saying that they don't make contributions. I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to do any of that. But what I'm trying to help you to understand is, why is this so different on the spectrum, and why is it affecting you, and why has it put you to this stage of needing to learn this and understanding and get your pieces together and get your I am together. So the deliberate and calculation is to mean that that they know that they can't deliver on their promises, and they have a need to then pick up. So, and once again, so just circling back very quick, it's to understand that they will then target those people who have an abundance of qualities which they are lacking. So go back, and what do we just state that their deficit is, that they're lacking? Okay, the innocence, the playfulness, the warm qualities, the affection, the respect, reverence, loyalty, love, bonding, commitment, joy, bliss, having things that you care about in life, caring about the environment, caring about humanity, caring about music, caring about your professional life, all these. I mean, we could go on and on. Okay, and so they will seek to be a match, to an opposite who will have either a vulnerability, a need, a loneliness. Okay, that makes you, a prime target. Do you need somebody? Were you lonely? Were you, without a partner? And so they're like, oh, they can fit themselves in and create just sort of, this soulmate connection where you feel like this is the answer to my prayers. And they might tell you that, we're perfect together. You're my soulmate. We fit like a hand in glove. And then just give you all these, you're the most beautiful in the world. You're the most handsome, I mean, it goes on and on. So, so they know that others, and so once again, just circling back, that a psychopath, they are aware that they do not possess the qualities that others do. And so they see people holding hands, going out for a hot chocolate, going to the movies, going fishing, going to the play, they see people doing these things, wanting to walk on the beach. And they say, geez, I don't have anything of this going on. I'm different. And I see a lot of people spending a lot of time trying to work on their relationships and make it just right. for me, it's like, just go and get what you want. So, but they realize that they can't do that. So they learn to observe and mimic. Observe and mimic. So, what you might think that would gain trust. Oh, let's walk through this beautiful garden. Things that genuine people love to do, love of nature, the harmony in nature. It can be romantic, a beach setting, going fishing on, at the creek, going fishing at the ocean, things that you might consider bonding, experiences, traveling. They will engage in heavily, giving you perfect gifts that, oh my gosh, I didn't, they see a need and they just swoop in and they get you sort of into a psychopathic trauma bond. So where there is this sort of fascination and sort of gluing onto them and this sort of falling in love with them, gone with the wind, you're swept off your feet, you're in disbelief. I mean, this is so good. They might start paying your bills. They might start, working out your retirement planning, helping you with your job, cleaning up your basement, fixing up your roof. I mean, or other things, interior design, giving you books, things for your devices, computer help. I mean, it's just, they will start doing this, but then poof, all of a sudden, when, it's a holiday, it's a birthday, there's a connection where the relationship would naturally flow, and then here's a big chunk missing. And the next thing you know, you're crying, you're frothing at the mouth, you're angry, you're beating down their phone. How could this have happened? It just, all of a sudden you see a little piece that's wiggling around. Hey, this is not so solid. And then you become transfixed on this, and then you have to become like a super sleuth, like an investigator. What is awry here? What is off? But yet, because there's been all this love bombing, you're sort of reeling from that internal chemistry of being bonded. It's a psychopathic bond. It's a love bombing bond. That they are aware of what they do. So once again, they are mimicking what they see other people doing. So once again, that walk in the park, even though they are asexual, not really interested in that, or that commitment, where most people couldn't do this to 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 people. A psychopath is very promiscuous and very will take high risk behaviors that most people would not be comfortable doing, where they just violate boundaries. They take everything on as their own. They destroy, demolish, and annihilate another's I am, their sense of self, their center, their wholeness, their I am. Okay, your identity and your self-image, not just for the now, but for moving forward. So they know if they can get you there and get you hooked and then doubting yourself and then feeling, insecure and unstable without them, they have got you hooked. So there's sort of this hook in this sort of rope, this sort of steel wire, very thick that they sort of get you with. And you become afraid to leave. You become afraid and you can't sort it out. It creates what I just call like a lot of neurotangles. It creates a lot of chaos in the brain. Neurotangles meaning things aren't wiring and firing. You cannot think straight. These are all functions of your mind and your heart, which go on. It's just like we need to get some wires straightened out. We need to get some thoughts straightened out. We need to get some feelings straightened out. We're talking about your internal climate and your internal environment right now. And this is such a long video. I don't know if you guys like the shorter or longer. If you want to make a comment. But anyway, so because they don't possess the same bonding, a psychopath will interpret this as a time waster. It's just like a speed bump in the road. It's slowing me down. I can't have the power that I want. A psychopath really thrives on having power and deception over others. It's like their own internal private joke. It's like their own internal aha. I got this one. I got what I needed. And whatever it is that they need, it is a parasitic lifestyle. So whether they are wanting to see, so in other words, once they've sort of observed you and sussed you out and kind of learned what you jump at and what your needs are, to feel like a man, to feel like a woman, to feel protected, to feel liberated, to feel cared for, all these different things. So, and then they will drop the ball, and so, when they see others in this state of dysphoria, of disillusion, of bewilderment, of shock, I mean, that is where they it's just the fawn, the fight or flight fawn, where a lot of people get stuck, and then it really creates it's so traumatic that it creates sort of a shock reaction. Even sometimes needing medical attention. I mean, where people are just they're shocked. Their pupils dilate. Their heart is rapid. They have panic attacks. It just does not compute. It's the physical body. It's your own protective mechanism going. Code blue, code red, whatever it is. It's the code is on. Your body is responding. You need to withdraw. You need to retreat. You need to go into retreat. You need to back it up. You need to exit a stage left or stage right. You need to exit this. Alarm, alarm, alarm. Your body. And so this, when they see others in this state of shock, amazement, a lot of people can get stuck in this phase for a long period of time. This is the worst. This is horrible. It is complete nightmarish. I mean, and these words, horrible, they're too soft to describe the experience. As I say, there's very little words in the human English language that can express this fear, this terror. I think terror is one of the getting close to it, but it's something that you usually have not experienced, and you wonder if you're ever going to come back from. And the answer is yes, unequivocally, you will. It's important, though, that you get that message as to say retreat. This when you're feeling completely distorted, disturbed, out of your thoughts, can't think. You're just completely in a shock mode, and then you have these intrusive thoughts for a while. This is a cycling of the brainwashing. This will get better. So for those of you who are wondering, yes, indeed, it will. And so for a psychopath, when they see others in shock, in disbelief, in bewilderment, suffering, they know that they are exerting their power and their dominance. And for them, that is a replacement for what other would, holding the hands, looking and dreaming for the future. Let's do this, having real connection. So when they see that they have this influence, it's to them like a sense of connection. It's a sense of conquering. It's a sense of victory. It's a sense that they got what, and they get sort of a strange and sick reward, feeling what is known as a dopamine. It's a neurochemical. It's a neurotransmitter, which is the reward, chemical, which a lot of people, uniquely enough, feel a very depletion of the dopamine. So your internal neurochemistry, your neurotransmitters, by virtue of this, can become very out of balance. As I say, it's likened to a test tube with all sorts of chemicals that ain't supposed to be combined. You're not supposed to have love, attachment, reverence, authority, fear, intimidation, violation, destroying of your I am all into one beaker. This ain't all supposed to be combined in the science lab. And so it's bubbling off. It's doing, it can be very difficult to sort out those neurochemicals and come down from it. But, there unequivocally is relief. It is, you need to learn about this. You need to understand what has happened and what you're dealing with, and get it from a sense of distance and perspective and safety and security and peace. And so learning, this is something that you need to learn and become educated about. And also, so it is there, they have a hypersensitivity to dopamine. So really quick before we wrap up. So, and they also have, oftentimes a high testosterone level, males and females. So it gives them this aggression and then reward for that. So their dopamine, they're 5 times more sensitive to that reward chemical. So for you, when you meet somebody, that you can relate to and you get that dopamine. So you get that reward, or when you're planning something or get something that you want or accomplish something, you've got serotonin and, dopamine. You're feeling good. You're feeling happy. It's worth it for you. This is a neurochemical reaction. And so this is kind of what the psychopathic is being rewarded on. So you want to have a clear separation and distinction, no matter who this person is in your life. You need to give yourself permission to retreat, to exit from, to not interact with, so you can begin to have those neurochemicals begin to settle down and reach homeostasis. Think clearly. And remove the impact, and especially as it distorts your identity. We're going to talk more about that. I mean, we can't get this all done in one video, but I hope just this segment does help. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony. I hope the videos help. Please share, please subscribe, and join the Peace and Harmony memberships for more great videos, tools, and discussions. Have a beautiful day.